Uh-oh, more bad news for Donald Trump. Things just keep getting worse and worse for the orange buffoon. Poll after poll after poll show that the American people are turning solidly against this idiot. It took a year, well, almost a year, but I think we are now at the place where the bottom is dropping out from underneath this guy. I want to play you a clip here. This is from CNN, Harry Enton, talking about one particular group of people who supported Trump inexplicably in 2024. Well, actually, it's not inexplicable. There's reasons for this, but watch this clip, and then we got to talk about this.
Harry Enton is here to tell us something we don't know. And Harry, I think it's really important what I just said there in that last sentence. From even a few months ago, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this isn't something that happened right away or even right at tariffs or something in April, right? It's much more recent.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think the word of the day, to borrow a phrase from the current president, huge. I mean, just take a look at Donald Trump's net approval rating among those under the age of 30. You go back to February, it was plus 10 points. Look at this drop. I'm laughing because it's down to minus 46 points on the net approval. That is a drop of 56 points among voters under the age of 30.
Is there any historically analogous to this?
This type of drop happening so quickly is just, I spend my days in the spreadsheets. You just don't see drops like that. It's stunning.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess the question, so the drop is huge. You can have a huge drop of a small number and it can still matter, but still. But this group was actually hugely important to Trump.
Yeah, hugely important to Trump. I mean, look, he gained more with voters with Generation Z than he did with any other group from 2020 to 2024. I mean, you look at it. Look, in 2020, he got 31%.
These are what, people under 25?
This is people under 30 now. They were under 25 back in 2020. Generation Z has become the young people. Millennials like myself have aged out of those young groups.
Right, so people under 30. Okay.
Correct. And they went from 31% in 2020 to now 43%. That's a jump of 12 points in just that 4 years. And I looked at all the age groups. There was more of a jump in his support among Generation Z than any other generation. They were key for him, as you said in your intro.
Wow. But that drop, again, 56-point swing.
Correct. That game, adios.
56. Are you fucking kidding me? He has dropped 56 among young people. You know what that tells me? That tells me that is a group of people who realize they've been lied to. That's what it tells me. We scratched our heads for a while after the election going, are you serious? Trump made huge gains with young people? The man is destroying your future. You voted for him? He made huge gains among Hispanics. We're like, he wants to deport brown people and you're voting for him? I mean, group after group that Trump made these huge gains with. And remember, keep all of this in mind as we have this discussion. Donald Trump barely won. All right, he is the luckiest son of a bitch on the face of the earth. Right? He just barely wins in 2016, threads the needle just perfectly. He loses the popular vote like big time and still manages to win in the Electoral College. 2024, he does better. He wins the popular vote. He doesn't get a majority. He wins a plurality of the popular vote, but barely. It's one of the smallest popular vote victories in American history. And again, just barely wins. Now, he won more comfortably in the Electoral College, but all the states, all those swing states that went for him, they just barely went for him. I mean, he won by fractions of a percentage point, which is one of the reasons a lot of people were like, all right, is there something wrong with that election? He wins all 7 swing states by a razor's edge. Anyway, luckiest son of a bitch on the planet. And by winning, by just barely managing to win again, he stays out of prison. Because that's what he was looking at. He was looking at either being president or spending most of, if not all of the rest of his life in prison. And it was that desperation, I think, that is one of the main reasons he ran for re-election in the first place. But it was that desperation that led him to make the most absurd promises to anyone who would listen to him. And so that's one of the reasons he made gains with these groups. Coupled with the fact that, Joe Biden was sitting in the 30s in terms of approval rating. We had, inflation had been coming down, but it was, we still had inflation, which meant year over year prices were continuing to get more expensive. The rate of increase of those prices was slowing, but it was still horribly expensive. And people, and with these young people too, how much do a lot of them really pay attention to stuff, right? And that's part of the thing. We have so many people in this country who pay scant attention. They really don't know a whole hell of a lot. And you have these different media ecosystems. So if you're someone who doesn't pay much attention, or you live in a Fox News household or whatever, you're exposed to right-wing shit, you might think that January 6th, it really wasn't an attempt to overthrow the republic. It was just a crowd that got out of hand. It's not Trump's fault. That kind of stuff. If you don't pay much attention, you don't know about his sexual assault adjudication. You don't know about the indictments. You might know about them, maybe, but do you really know the facts surrounding these cases? Probably not. And so what you do see in your daily life is that everything is so damn expensive. It's getting harder and harder to just afford to live in this country. And, some people said, I'll take a chance on this guy. He's promising to bring the price of everything down on day one. I could barely make it, so, I guess I don't really like this orange fuck, but let me give him a shot. Everybody's telling me that things were so much better when he was president. I can barely afford to feed myself. And so let me vote for him. They believed the promises, right? That's the heart of it. They believed the bullshit. And now, less than a year into this, one of these groups, that traditionally is a strong Democratic constituency, suddenly Trump makes huge gains with them. I think it all has to do with affordability, the word that Donald Trump ran on, but he now says is a Democratic con job, right? It's all bullshit. Affordability, that's a Democrat con job. There's no problem with affordability. Everything's so cheap because of me. So that same thing is now dragging his ass down. The people who were not in his cult, right? The cult was going to vote for him no matter what, right? They don't care about issues. They're in a cult. But for people who are not wrapped up in the cult of personality for Trump, but who voted for him, they voted for him for reasons. Like they thought he would be better for some friggin' reason. And there was no more important issue in that last election than the economy, specifically affordability, the cost of living, inflation, all of that. And now we are almost a year into this, and all those promises that he made, he was going to bring the price of everything down starting on day one. None of it has happened. Everything has gotten worse. He comes in, he puts these tariffs on, he jacks up the prices of everything. Everything is even more difficult to survive in this country, to feed yourself, to keep a roof over your head. And people are like realizing that it was all bullshit, right? And they're turning on him. They gave him plenty of opportunity. The American people, we've been following this polling. They've been very patient with this guy. Well, we got to give him a chance. You can't do this overnight. I know he said he would bring the price of everything down on day one, but that's not realistic. So we're going to give him a chance. Well, they've given him a chance. He's almost a quarter of the way through his second term in office. Okay, how much more time are they going to give him? The answer is coming back, and the answer is, time's up, you orange fuck. You lied to us. And this 56% of young people, he loses 56%? He goes from plus 10 to minus 46? That is a group of people who realizes they've been conned. That's what that is. Those are angry people who have realized, you fucking lied to me. And it's not just young people, but I mentioned Hispanics. Same thing. Trump made these huge gains with Hispanics. We're like, what the, are you freaking kidding? How can a Hispanic person vote for a guy who's promising mass deportations? I mean, I think people don't think about this stuff, because Hispanics aren't, in favor of illegal immigration. Republicans make it sound like anyone who's not a MAGA, is in favor of illegal immigration. That's bullshit. No one's really in favor of illegal immigration, including Hispanics. And so when they heard mass deportations, I think for a lot of people, Trump benefits from that's just Trump. He just says shit. He doesn't really mean that. So when people hear mass deportations, they hear that coupled with him saying, oh, we're gonna go after the criminals. We're gonna get the worst of the worst. They were saying that. So when they heard mass deportations, they said, well, that's just hyperbole. That's just Trump exaggerating. They're just going to go after the criminals. And since I'm not a criminal, I'm an American citizen, or I came here legally, or I've gone through the process, I have a work permit or whatever, I don't have to worry about it. He's not coming after me. Then he comes in and they realize, holy shit, he meant mass deportations. He meant he's going after any brown people. So you also have that when you're talking about the Hispanic vote, but also Hispanics are having just as hard a time affording things in this country as everybody else. And so he's losing huge with the young people. He's losing huge with the Hispanics. By the way, I've told you that's one of the reasons why I think this Texas redistricting stuff may blow up in their faces, because they redrew these maps in Texas, which the Supreme Court now rubber stamped, and so they will be in effect next year for the midterms. But they drew those new congressional districts based on the 2024 turnout, where Trump made huge gains with Hispanics, all of which, according to all the polls, he has lost. He has lost all that support that he gained. So now they made assumptions about 2026 based on the turnout in 2024, which almost certainly is not going to come to fruition for them in the midterms. So they may have screwed themselves. They might actually put Democrats in a position to pick up some seats in Texas. Anyway, so he's made a disaster of everything, and time's up. People aren't giving this guy the benefit of the doubt anymore. We've given you time. You're almost 25% through your term, and everything is worse. I'm done with you. You lied. You're a fucking con man. You told me you were going to bring the price of everything down. I voted for you. I held my nose. You're a friggin' convict. You're a convicted felon. You're a fucking piece of shit. The way you talk about people, Somalis are garbage human beings, or whatever the hell he said the other day. But I held my nose. I voted for you because I can barely live in this economy, and you promised to make my life better. And you didn't. You're a liar. You lied to me to get my vote. That's what's going on here. And when people realize they've been lied to, this is why it's such a disaster for these guys. When people realize they've been lied to, that's it. You don't get another chance. Just think about it in your life. When you realize you've been conned, someone's been playing you, someone manipulated you to get what they wanted out of you. Once you realize you've been freaking lied to and conned, you don't ever trust that person again. You're done. You're angry. That's it with that person, right? You're freaking done. That's how I think a lot of these voters are with Trump. I don't think they're coming back. And if you look at his polling numbers, I've been talking about this. It hasn't been a precipitous drop, like something happened, right? Some event that caused him to lose a whole ton of popularity all at once. But because when that happens, oftentimes when it's due to one thing, once that thing comes and goes, the poll numbers creep back up, right? They rebound. That's not what's been happening for Trump. There's not been any one thing that's responsible for his deteriorating poll numbers. Now, it might be one thing for individual people, but generally speaking, there hasn't been just one thing where he's lost a whole bunch of support at once. It has been a gradual erosion as people have looked around, see all the things that he's doing. He didn't promise this. He didn't promise to frickin' pick to start threatening Canada. He's gonna take Greenland. We're gonna go to war with Venezuela in an illegal war. We're blowing up people in the Caribbean. He's threatening Panama. He's putting tariffs on everything. He promised to bring down the price of groceries, and that ain't happening. We didn't vote for this. Well, actually, you did. If you voted for him, this is exactly what you voted for. This is what we tried to warn you about. But whatever, you didn't want to listen. The price of eggs and shit, right? Now these people, over time, they've been waking up. They've been realizing that they've been lied to. And his poll numbers have been slowly eroding. When you have a slow erosion that just keeps going down, 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 that tends to be an enduring loss of support that doesn't come back. That is an electorate that is turning on this man. And he is now consistently in the 30s. And that is a disaster. And how is this all? Oh, before I get to Republicans, because I've been telling you, this Republican Civil War, it's coming. It's actually here, and it's starting to get good. I'm going to get to that in a second. But on this affordability issue, it's like panic time for him, right? He runs on affordability. Now he denies it. He says it's a Democratic hoax. Now you have people like, I saw Newt Gingrich out there saying, the people in the White House, they better come to terms with the affordability issue. This is a crisis. You can't just deny it, because that's Trump's thing. He just denies stuff. And for the most part, it works for him, right? He just lies to his cult. He tells them black is white, up is down, and they believe it. And a lot of people believe it because there's so much of the media doesn't report the truth and just goes along with this shit. I got gloves today and I'm still freaking freezing. Damn cold out here. Anyway, it's just the hands. Everything else I'm fine. But this affordability thing, you can't just lie that away, all right? That's something that people live every day. So when you tell people there's no affordability problem, that it's all just a Democrat hoax, it's just a Democrat hoax, don't believe them, you believe me. When you tell them that, they know you're lying. And you insult their intelligence. They go to the grocery store. Your fat ass doesn't go to the grocery store, but the rest of us do. And the rest of us can see that the prices are not coming down. The prices are going up. When you lie to everybody and tell everybody that price of gas is under $2 a gallon, your fat ass doesn't buy gas, but the rest of us do. And we know that gas is not below $2 a gallon, that you are lying. And you're not taking the concerns of the American people seriously. And most Republicans understand that that's a problem. And you have Newt Gingrich out there going, the White House needs to deal with this. Trump needs to deal with this. They need to adopt an affordability agenda. He said that Trump should even make it the whole focus of his State of the Union address in February. Just talk about affordability. How's that going to play? In February, you're going to make your whole address about affordability, but yet today you're saying it's a Democratic con job? I don't see Trump making that switch. And just talking about it, is that going to do the trick? Just talking about it? You also run the risk of just making the whole conversation about affordability. I mean, Trump is in a sort of a no-win situation here. The only thing that's actually going to solve this problem is if prices come down. And he's not doing a damn thing that's going to lower the price of anything. The only thing that could help him is if the Supreme Court rules against him and strikes down these tariffs. Now, he'll go apeshit crazy, but because he'll be too stupid to realize that the Supreme Court would have done him a great favor if that's what they do. But we'll see. Finally, how is all this manifesting itself in the political world, right? His support is cratering. He's in the 30s. And importantly, this was a really important number that came out about a week ago in the Gallup poll. Came out on Friday, so it didn't get that much attention, day after Thanksgiving. It showed that his support among Republicans is dropping like fast. He was down to 84% approval among Republicans. Now, it sounds high, it is high, but that was from 91 just a month earlier. He dropped 7 points with Republicans. And those are just the Republicans who admitted to the pollster that they don't support Trump. And remember, if you're a Republican, you've been conditioned to never say an ill word about the cult leader. So how many people who were polled actually disapprove of Trump, but just, they're not going to say it. I'm not going to admit to a pollster that I don't approve of the cult leader. So I think the number's probably a bit higher than that, but he is losing support among Republicans. And that's huge. And the generic congressional ballot. We've had a couple of reputable polls on the generic congressional ballot where they just ask if the congressional elections were held today, would you vote for the Democratic candidate or the Republican candidate? And Republicans are getting destroyed. I think the NBC News poll of like a month ago had it at, I think it was 17 points that Democrats were leading Republicans. And then another recent poll, which one was it? Whatever. It was like Ipsos Reuters, or I don't think it was that one. It was another good poll. Had Democrats with a 14-point lead over Republicans. And the result of all this is that Republicans are panicked. They are losing their shit. But they're screwed. They don't know what to do because they know that there's one reason for all of this. There's one person responsible, and it's the one person they can't criticize. They created this problem for themselves. They created this monster. We've been saying this literally for years, since the first term. You're creating a monster, and this monster is eventually going to destroy you. We are in that period now where things are all going to go downhill for Republicans. Now, Trump, I don't want to oversell this. I mean, Trump is still president. He has all the powers of the presidency, but his powers are waning. He is literally deteriorating, like physically before our eyes. The guy, I'm telling you, some days I look at him and I'm like, all right, I will not be surprised if tomorrow morning I wake up and I see that glorious headline. So he's not doing well on any front. And so, but we're in that period of time where the monster they created is beginning to destroy them, because the American people are turning solidly against him. So many people hate his guts. I mentioned Hispanics. I mentioned young people. Independence, the all-important independence. Trump is almost as unpopular with independents as he is with Democrats. Really, we're almost to the point where the only people who support him anymore are the hardcore cultists. We're not quite there yet. He's still got room to drop in the polls, but we're getting there. And Republicans know this, and they are panicked. By the way, and Trump is panicked too, which is the whole reason for the redistricting effort. And you could see him. He's panicking every day. And I have a question for you, because I've been told for so long that, we're never going to win another election. He's just going to rig the midterms. They're going to rig every single election. If that were the case, why the panic? Okay, I have no doubt that they're going to try to rig the elections. They're doing everything they can to at least game the system. Redistricting, changing voting laws, and so forth. But if they could just rig the election, as so many people for the last year have been telling me, then why in the hell would they be panicked at all? Why would you even need to do redistricting if you can just manipulate the votes and rig the election? It's not that easy. It's not going to happen that way. They're going to do everything they can, but you can't just they're not going to be able to just outright steal elections. If the elections are close, some of the games that they're playing might be effective. And I think the thing that we really have to be on the lookout for is Trump using ICE and Border Patrol and the military, National Guard, and so forth to intimidate people from the polls. That's a real serious concern. Anyway, Republicans are panicked because they see these polls, the generic congressional ballot, Trump's approval rating. They see what's happened in the actual voting results that we've had lately, where Democrats are outperforming hugely, even in races that they lose. In that Tennessee, plus 22 Trump district. Okay, the Democratic candidate only lost by 9. That's huge. And I saw some friggin' MAGA posting yesterday about some new poll, some loser poll I never heard of, had the generic congressional ballot with Democrats only at +4. And they were like, see, it's not as bad as the media is telling us. Democrats only have a 4-point advantage. That's nothing. That's not a big deal. Yeah, that's a bullshit poll. No reputable poll has it that close at all. And do you not see like the actual election results? Democrats are not overperforming +4. They're overperforming double digits everywhere. Anyway, dumbass MAGAs online aside and phony polls aside, Republicans know that this is a disaster for them, but they can't turn on the one person they need to turn on. They can't criticize the one person they need to be throwing under the bus. So what do? They're turning on each other, which I told you was going to happen. This is the MAGA civil war. All right, it's starting, it's heating up, and it's getting good in the House now. You have Elise Stefanik saying that, going against Mike Johnson, questioning his leadership. You've got a whole bunch. There was an article I was reading this morning. I should have printed that out. Where Republicans in Congress are pissed. They're pissed for a whole lot of reasons. They're worried about their reelections. They're sick of the fact that they're nothing but a rubber stamp. I have a couple of clips of them talking about how they are sick and tired of just being a rubber stamp for the White House. They're saying these are smart people. We're all smart, accomplished people who got elected to Congress. And what do? We don't do anything. We can't offer legislation. All we can do is sit here and do whatever Trump tells us, and we're sick of it. It's getting good. Now, those are just the couple like Thomas Massie who do speak out against Trump. But they give voice to all the cowards who would like to be saying that, but don't. Instead, what do? They turn on Mike Johnson. They blame this all on Mike Johnson. Look, Mike Johnson is a piece of shit, no doubt, but he's not the reason for your problem, okay? If any one of you who are complaining about Mike Johnson were speaker, you'd be doing the same damn thing. You'd be doing whatever Donald Trump told you to do. Your problem is not Mike Johnson. Your problem is Donald fucking Trump. And you guys should come together, understand that there's safety in numbers, and turn on this piece of shit. If you were really smart, I know you're never going to take this advice, but if you were smart, you would just rip the Band-Aid off right now. Join with Democrats. There's more than enough reason to impeach and remove him from office. Just do it. You all fucking hate him. We know you hate him. I know you hate him. Most of you do. Most of you in Congress hate him. Just get rid of him. You still got a year before the midterms. Remove him from office. You would be in so much better position going into the midterms with J.D. Vance as president, right? And then going into 2028 with an incumbent J.D. Vance as president. You'd be in a much better position. Now, again, just like Mike Johnson, J.D. Vance is a piece of shit. So I'm not saying that I like J.D. Vance or anything. I'm telling you, you friggin' Republicans, you'd be much better off. You would have been much better off if you just convicted his orange criminal ass in that second impeachment and just been done with him. Sure, the MAGA cult would have been mad for a while. You'd get death threats for a little bit, but it would all go away, all right? And how much better off would you be today if you had removed him from office and prevented him from ever running again? That was a mistake that you didn't do it. And not removing him now is another mistake. It's a mistake you're going to make because I understand you're not going to impeach and remove him. You're too damn scared. As much as you would like to, you're not going to do it. But it's a mistake. He's going to drag you all down. He's the monster. That's turning on you. You created this monster, and now it's destroying you. You still have an opportunity to save yourselves, or at least, stop the bleeding a little bit. Put yourself in a better position to save your seats in Congress. Remove this piece of shit. The American people, including those fucking MAGAs you're so afraid of, they have the attention span of a flea. All right? The midterms are a year from now. The next presidential election is 3 years from now. Okay? And rip the Band-Aid off. Impeach and remove him and move on with your lives. But you're not going to do it. Instead, you're going to blame each other, attack each other. You're not going to say a damn thing about Trump. Meanwhile, he's going to continue to destroy your party. And I say good. You fuckers deserve it. All right, that's it. I'm out of here. Thanks for watching.